Welcome back to another episode of Home Sweet Home Cooking. I am Rocky, your host as usual. My mom is behind me again, and we're back in her kitchen because mine's a pigsty. Right, Ma?
Amen.
Amen. Today we're gonna do a Chinese chop suey recipe. Now, granted, this is a recipe that my family's used for 50-some years. I'm sure it's a bastardized version, so don't jump in the comments and say that's not chop suey because X, Y, or Z reasons. I really don't care. This is what our family called chop suey growing up, and it's delicious. So it calls for 1 pound of veal, 1 pound of pork. We're not using veal. We're just going to use 2 pounds of pork. And I've got some butter melting right now. And you're supposed to brown 1 large onion into your 2 pounds of meat. So we'll go ahead and meet you at the stove after I have a sip of the good stuff. So into some, the recipe doesn't say how much oil or butter or margarine to use, so we just put, I don't know, 1/8, maybe 1/4 of a stick, probably closer to 1/4 stick, to that 1 large diced onion. Give that a little stir. Now you can go ahead and buy your pork pre-diced, chopped up to bite-sized pieces in the grocery store. Ours doesn't look neat and fancy because, well, at 99 cents a pound, I really couldn't turn down getting a full rump roast, shoulder roast, Boston butt, if you want to call it that. And I just cut about 2 pounds of meat off. I'm guessing that each one of those looks about the size of a pound of ground meat, so that's why I'm judging 2 pounds of meat. Now, I don't know why your onions really need to be browned. They're going to cook through, and this is going to simmer for quite a while, so the onion flavor is going to go through, so I'm not really going to brown them. I'm just going to go ahead and add the meat and get this show on the road. And yeah. I know, you're supposed to not put all the meat in because it's not going to brown that well. Again, this is a Chinese dish. I don't think it really browns much in Chinese cooking unless you're doing something in a stir fry anyway. So to get this cooked through, and then it says to, once you get this browned, you're supposed to add 2 cups of, is it? Grab the recipe real quick. 2 cups of finely chopped celery. So as soon as this gets cooked through a little more, I'm going to go ahead and drop the celery in there, finely chopped. Ours is going to be a little bit coarse chopped because it's frozen. That's the way we did it. And once you get that in there, it says simmer for 45 minutes. That's going to let that meat cook all the rest of the way through and tenderize a little bit. Also season to taste, so now would be the time you add your salt and pepper. We'll get the simmer done, and we'll be back to add the final ingredients. And we're back. The meat and veggies the meat, celery, and onions have simmered for a while, lost most of the liquid, nice and tender. Next step is to add the rest of the ingredients. It calls for 1 can of bean sprouts drained. Now, originally, when this recipe was written, the bean sprouts came in a large can like this. We couldn't find any of that size anymore, so they're smaller cans. We're adding 2. This would equal 2 of the large cans of bean sprouts. These are drained, so it's just the bean sprout. 2 cans of chopped suey vegetables. These are undrained. Again, it's 1 large can or 2 small cans. And those are undrained. You want that liquid. And 1 cup of mushrooms. So we're using 2 cans of drained sliced mushrooms. Now this is where the license goes into, the artistic license, so to speak, is a recipe is a suggestion, not a rule of law. We like water chestnuts, so we're adding 2 cans of sliced water chestnuts, drained. And now the thickening agents is going to be 2 to 3 tablespoons of cornstarch in soy sauce. I like my chop suey a little thick, so we're just going to go ahead and do 3 tablespoons. Get out of here. 1, 2, and 3. And that is going to be mixed into cold liquid. In this case, the liquid is going to be 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. 1, 2, and 3. Before I get to mixing that, I want to get the cornstarch in there first because I'm going to need the tablespoon over here. This also calls for 2 tablespoons of molasses. So 1 and 2. And folks, I don't know about you, but I like molasses. Get down to the liquid, mix that off, and you can mix it up in your spoon if you want to, but my mom has her old Tupperware thingies here, and it makes a great shaker. And that's your thickening agent. Stir that all up. Get those flavors incorporated. And recover this. And I'm gonna let it come back up to the temp. Put a bunch of those colder vegetables in there, cool it down a little bit. Don't really need to boil it too much after this. Just heat it through, mix all those flavors in. While you're doing that, you're gonna want to get your rice going. So I'm going to get the camera back on the countertop. I brought my rice cooker over. It makes things real easy, and I'll show you that. For those of you that have never cooked with a rice cooker before, it's really simple. It's got graduated lines on the inside which tell you how much water you use for how many servings of rice. Well, not servings, I should say. Measuring cups of rice. I'm going to do the full amount for this, 10 servings, because I want leftover rice. I'm going to do a fried rice later this week at my house. So it'll be 10 measuring cups of rice. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I won't be doing 10. I've got 6 cups, or 6 of the measuring cups of rice in there. Next, I'm going to take it over to your water source, and you're just going to fill the water up to the line that says however many cups. I'll be right back. And it comes up to 6. Shut the lid. In this case, I'm doing white rice, so just hit the button. And the timer's going down. It's going to take, there's a little weight sensor I believe in the bottom, and it's going to weigh the amount of water and rice. So when the water is, most of it is either absorbed or steamed off, it's going to shut it off and it'll go into a keep warm mode. So you can start this an hour or 2 in advance, but it will be done in about a half an hour or so, depending on how much you're in there. This is not a full 10 cups, so it's going to be a little bit quicker than half an hour. But when we get this cooked, that's going to be heated through. It's going to be time to serve, and we'll be back. Alright, beauty of the rice cooker. It's done, didn't have to do anything with it. It beeped. Now it's gone into a keep warm mode. It'll stay keeping warm until you come home and shut the power off. All you do is you flip her open. You just fluff up the rice a little bit. I don't know, this is my plate. Should I keep on going, showing the viewing audience how much of a pig I am? I don't get to eat chop suey very often. My girlfriend, she's not into the chop suey. She likes vegetable stir fry, which I think is disgusting. And the chop suey has simmered long enough. It is tender. Don't expect it to be crazy thick like sesame chicken or General Tso's. It's a loose type dish. Give yourself a good helping of the chop suey on top of it. These are called chow mein noodles. They're little crispy, crunchy, floury worms, for lack of this better description. A little bit on top of there. And for me, I like a little bit extra soy sauce. Quite a bit extra for me because I like both flavors. I'm not gonna lie about that. And that is right there. That is what we call Lum Hung Lang's chop suey. I don't know who Lum Hung Lang is, but that was our recipe for 50 some years, and it's delicious. You can make this out of any meat. It can be chicken, it can be venison, it can be beef, it can be buffalo, bear, raccoon, I don't care, any type of meat. You just want to make sure you cut it down small enough so it's bite-sized, and tougher meats like venison, buffalo, things like that, anything really lean, you're going to want to cook a little bit longer. This might even go good in a slow cooker once you got it browned. I don't see why it wouldn't. But that's the recipe. I'm not going to eat this on camera because it's just killing it hot right now. If you like this video and you want to see other videos like this, or if you have a chop suey recipe that you think is more authentic to American chop suey. By the way, I looked up chop suey in between videotaping. Chop suey is not a Chinese dish. It was invented in America. Two different stories. One was a cook at a restaurant late at night, didn't have food. A bunch of drunk miners came in there. This is the San Francisco story. And they wanted something to eat, so he threw a bunch of leftovers together. He had pork and some leftover vegetables, did some rice, made it gravy, and that's what he called chop suey. Basically what that is. The other one was a Chinese diplomat back in 1890 something, was here in America. Like I say, he was a diplomat, and he had some other American politicians, diplomats over at his place, and he didn't want to offend anybody with a traditional Chinese menu, so he asked his chef to make something that would be more palatable to the American taste buds, and that is how the New York version of chop suey said it got its name. Either way, not made in China. This was invented in America, so chop suey is an American Chinese dish, not a Chinese American dish. Either way, however you make it is delicious. If you have a recipe that's different, please leave the recipe down below. I'd like to see any differences. I might even try them. If you like the video, give it a big thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, as always, subscribe. And thank you very much for watching the video. Have a great day.